Patrice Gumbs, with your indulgence, I would allow MP Duran to make an interruption. MP Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good evening to the Honorable Minister, support staff, my colleagues, and everyone that is tuned in. Madam Chair, I heard the Minister go through some correspondence. All I've been asking for is for some evidence to justify the cancellation of the project. Now, the Minister is saying that the tone in the letter changed. I'm only hearing the tone of the Minister change in reading the letter. So please, with all that being said, it's nice to read all the correspondences. I would like to receive a letter that states that the housing project is off the table, because we went from 2023 to 2024 and I still haven't heard it. Please clarify. And again, I want to reiterate, for me, it's about the facts now, because you're basically making it look like we misrepresented the truth. And I just want clarity, and I also want to move forward so that we can get this project going. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to the answer, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Duran. Minister Gumbs,
yes,
can you react to the question, comment by MP Duran at this time?
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. Just again to clarify, it was not my tone, but if you read the letter, which the good MP would have, it speaks about pre-approval, pre-appraisal, several things still pending after the timeline of negotiations that has to be done. Nothing is mentioned of risks in the October letter. The word risks and the tone being changed is not my tone, it's what's in the letter. It speaks over several times and it's highlighted here, and it's a document that's not made by me, it's in by Div, questioning the possibility of this project even happening anymore. Then I ended by saying that the World Bank will be supplying me with that letter, confirming very shortly, hopefully before the second round is finalized tomorrow, that the project was off the table from April. So with all of this documentation that builds from the October to March to then April, the letter will then confirm what has been said now, I think, for several months, and hopefully it can be laid to rest, that this housing project was off the table as of April, not any other time or later time than that. Because, and if I can, through you, Madam Chair, I would, if the MP is querying if it's really been lost under me, I would invite him to actually propose to me where any of the 4 requirements for the housing project were achieved before April 2024. They have not been achieved.
MP Duran, do I see you wanting to make a second interruption?
I want to expound on the first interruption because I still didn't receive an answer, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the Minister clearly said, I was the Minister, so that is the new me, so to speak, right? If I received it, then you should have it. Because my whole argument, I wouldn't spend months discussing something that didn't happen. And it was not an imaginary story. We went to Washington, we had all the plans in place. So if I received it back then you should have it in your possession, and please provide it. I've been asking for several weeks now from the first Central Committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Duran, for that interruption, and I now give the floor back to the Minister. Minister?
Thank you. On that request, we'll await the letter to end the discussion regarding this housing project. All right. The MP had another point, Maho, that it was issued and reissued based on a policy that I signed in January 2024. The policy that I signed to extend any decrees that were in the process of expiring was simply to allow the ministry time to complete the land issuance policy. And of course, the second question was then, did the people of St. Martin benefit? Allow me to clarify through you, Madam Chair, I never said the MP signed a policy. I stated he signed a ministerial decree that extended the term for passing at the notary for all previous MBAs regarding long lease. The reissuance of the long lease in Maho needed to be done and could unfortunately only have been reissued to the same and current owner of the long lease property. As stated during Central Committee, only the area in the original May brief was reissued. The people of St. Martin and the country financially are and will benefit from this reissuance greatly. The canon per square meter has been raised from 1 guilder cent to 6 guilders with retroactive effect to the date of the decree 2021. And in 5 years, the said date 2026, to 12 guilders per square meter. Which notary allowed this deed to be passed? Because it can be seen as a new issuance because of the additional land space that was acquired. As stated previously, there was no land additional acquired. It's really only a reissuance to which is allowed in the DDAM. And the notary who passed it was Notary Richards. And of course, with any inconsistencies that may come up, this will of course be rectified, but we do not expect any. Building permit that was signed on May 2nd. Can the minister give an account how many permits were signed off from May 21st? I think maybe you mean May 3rd? May 3rd until now. Are there any illegal, are these illegal or legal as government is the missionary state? To date, a total of 79 permits have been signed. The mentioning of date was for elucidation purposes. The intention, as the MP is alluding to, is not that to say that things cannot be signed, as government must indeed continue. What must be considered is what is being signed and its long-term impact. Well Road, is it on the priority list? What is the priority? When is it coming? What is the priority when it comes to Well Road? Stated in the answers provided to MP Irian earlier in this dialogue, and especially as well in the Central Committee meeting, Well Road will be addressed in CapEx 2025. Draft land policy, can you break down the 12 to 18 months? A detailed plan of action, and let me begin by correcting actually 6 to 18 months, and why that change happened is because certain things can actually, upon further reflection, be achieved faster than 12 months. So, a detailed plan of action with defined objectives, timelines, and budgets within the proposed time frame will first be created between VROMI and the to-be-hired project manager to develop this policy. The main activities include engaging stakeholders such as government, agencies, communities, businesses, and environmental organizations through consultations and workshops to gather insights. Research will be conducted on land allocation practices, legal frameworks, and best practices from small island nations. Additionally, data on land, local land ownership, usage, and market values will be analyzed to inform policy creation. A DDAM compliant policy will be drafted. Important to note through you, Madam Chair, the policy that the MP speaks of that was being drafted by his person and under his mandate, not his person, under his mandate, did not consider DDAM, and that was information that I received from the policy department. A DDAM compliant policy will be drafted along with the implementation plan, monitoring steps, and periodic reviews. Training will also be provided to VROMI staff for effective enforcement and compliance. As said before, the timeline to draft, finalize, and implement a policy is approximately 6 to 18 months, depending if the existing national legislation needs to be adjusted or renewed. As you know, the adjustment of a national ordinance takes time and careful and precise work. We strive to do this as much as possible, utmost priority. I'd like to also preface this, and I'd like to thank so many of the MPs for referencing PFP today for their free marketing. But really, I'd like to recall this whole issue of DDAM and a long land policy, you will recall, formed part of the motion that PFP brought against the former Minister of ROMI, where we stated the need, that was about 3 years ago, the need 3 years ago for a land policy before we even got into the DDAM discussion. So it's interesting to me to now see that the rhetoric is this minister is not issuing land. This minister forms part of a party who 3 years ago said, get a policy in place. No one responded, and now we're at a place where 3 years later, this could have already been in place had we listened to PFP 3 years ago. Next question. What is the priority of the Long Wall Road in comparison to the Arch Road? Please make the Arch Road the next priority. The Arch Road project of the resourcing project from ATLH Road to Guadalupe Drive Road has temporarily been put on hold due to excessive waterfall runoff, similar to what was done at Yanshu Raskin Boulevard. You'll recall there was a couple of days where that road work had stopped because one of the sort of enterprises on that area, we realized for years has had running water going to Point Blanche. It was under this discussion, we decided, no, let's get this problem solved. I am not going to pave a road to have water swell up and destroy it again. Thus, this exact same thing is being applied to 88 Road, which is, let's be clear, on the priority list. But as we know, the same intersection near Abu Ghazi Shawarma, mentioned by the MP this morning, is indeed where the problem is. That has to be fixed before we go and pave the road. As such, the decision was taken to move to Long Wall Road, which is also one of the listed roads. And then once that is addressed, we will actually move back to Arch Road, which was already communicated that Arch Road was going to always be on our priority list. Moving to the questions of MP Francesco La Cruz. Garbage collection in St. Peter's. Still a problem and appears to be getting worse. What is happening? The garbage collection challenges in St. Peter's area are currently heightened due to several factors. Following recent yard cleanups, there's a noticeable increase in debris and large household items placed next to garbage bins. This surge in waste is overwhelming the available hauling resources, as there's a shortage of trucks to handle the excessive volume. Although the garbage collectors are required to service the area 3 times a week, residents often need more frequent collection due to significant waste buildup. While the metal bins are serviced daily under existing contracts, residents frequently wait until bins are empty to dispose of large bulks of waste. This practice can create the appearance that bins are not regularly serviced. And I can tell you, I live in Mary's Fancy. Today there was a mattress and a fridge. Down the street this afternoon, for 2 days, there is a standing fridge. And this is all within the time when people overnight. So things are being cleaned, just the capacity doesn't match the reality of where we're at. Additionally, the recent rainfall has led residents to cut down entire trees and place them curbside, further increasing the volume of bulk waste. Collectors are only obligated to pick up 2 cubic meters of bulk waste per household per week. So these larger than usual amounts are impacting and contributing more to solid waste issue. Vrommie's Department of Instruction Management is actively monitoring the situation and maintains regular consultation with the hauler to address the ongoing challenges. And I think that brings us to the end of my questions, Madam Chair, and I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you, Minister Patrice Gumbs, for providing answers to the questions regarding the Ministry of Vrommie. I don't see any request for clarification. Yes, I do. In fact, I see MP Irian requesting such. And MP Irian, you have the floor.